Welcome back to BWO Daily, your source for news in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. From your boys at Busted Wide Open. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And this last week on NXT, in the triple threat to determine one of the contenders for that five-way ladder match at TakeOver 30 for the North American Championship, there was a surprise mystery entrant in the triple threat. Who was it, Nick? It turned out to be Velveteen Dream, who had been away for a couple of weeks. And the speculation was he was out for a couple of weeks because he was being investigated for inappropriate contact with minors. You see, back during the Speaking Out movement, some people had come forward and said that Dream had been contacting them inappropriately, sending them less than appropriate things. We'll leave it at that. They had his voice. They had pictures of him, very, very intimate pictures of him. And it didn't look good for the Dream. So when he was gone for a little while, everyone assumed that he was out while WWE was investigating this. Well, that appeared to not be entirely the case because Triple H was just on CBS Sports, and he said that Dream was actually out because he was in a car accident, not because they were investigating him. Although they did investigate him as well and didn't find anything. Triple H actually 3 times in the interview said that Dream was in a car accident, and that's what took him off of TV. But the other stuff happened at the same time. They looked into it. They found nothing that they needed to worry about. It's a situation that he said that it is what it is, and there's nothing there. He said everything that we have done, we are comfortable with him continuing to do what he does and everything else. So, yeah, according to Triple H, it wasn't the accusations that took Dream off of TV. Now, the question is, what exactly did WWE investigate? Because, of course, they can't contact the accusers. That would be not legal. And also, the accusers never actually went to the authorities with any evidence. So in the absence of any kind of legal proceedings going on, and in the absence of any kind of authorities coming for Dream and telling him what exactly he's looking at, WWE doesn't really have a whole lot to go on. They basically, all they can do is just ask Dream, hey, what happened? And Dream can give his side of the story. That's pretty much it. So Nick,
yeah, but my tweets.
Yeah, well, we may never know, basically, whether the accusers...
You're saying Twitter is not a proper court.
No.
Judge, jury, and execution.
Yeah, no, apparently all the Sherlock Holmeses on Twitter do not actually matter when it comes to the actual legal system. It's just the court of public opinion. That being said, Dream has he released a statement when this all happened. He said, "Be assured I did not communicate inappropriately with anyone. A private photo of mine was shared without my consent or knowledge, and I'm working with a third party to look into this matter." Obviously, it would be a pretty serious thing if he was being falsely accused. Conversely, reasons why the accusers might not go to the authorities, if they're minors, this could be a situation where they don't want to have themselves dragged through the mud or deal with this as well. They could be being intimidated. We don't know. There's a whole lot of stuff we don't know here. All we're being told is WWE says it's okay. Dream says he didn't do it, and they didn't go to the authorities. So that's all we have to work on here.
It's listen, it's no secret I'm a huge fan of Patrick's. I love his work. You guys that have listened to the show for years now know that I've gone on record saying I think he's got the most potential of anyone long term that's coming up in this sort of new generation of professional wrestlers and things like massive potential. This was probably the one that was very, very heartbreaking for me. I'm trying to stay skeptically optimistic, but I'm still a little skeptical because I'm a technologist. My shirt says engineer. I know for social engineering how hard it would be for someone to say, I don't know, get access to a device that was logged into something that had private messages and then knew that there was an inappropriate picture that they could send in order to frame him for doing.
Yeah.
Listen.
Photoshopping conversations, finding a way to use his voice, take it from somewhere else and use it in this situation. Yeah, there was a lot of very damning evidence here. But unfortunately, because that evidence was never given to the proper authorities, it never got properly investigated. So we may never know. And as you said, Nick, one of the most promising people to come out of the NXT system, maybe ever, And the sky was the limit. The question now, is this something where the fans will say, okay, innocent until proven guilty and nothing ever happens, so moving on? Or will there be a miasma that hangs around Velveteen Dream for the foreseeable future? I know they turned him heel recently on TV, but will that be enough to kind of get the anger out of the fans? We will have to wait and see. This could be a major roadblock to his career, or it could be a speed bump. Time will tell.
Yeah, it could be a speed bump. We've seen people recover from way worse, and at the same time, I think the first half of this year might be more of a than any of these sort of Twitter proceedings that have gone on. The whole thing with Adam Cole, it was just a dud. So, in
terms of like their storylines and everything.
Yeah, that did not do him any favors.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I think the one or the other is recoverable, but the two crammed together all in the same year, that's going to be tough.
Well,
you're going to have to do some. I'm hoping that the Velveteen Dream gimmick is not completely ruined out of the combination of those two things, because I love it.
Well, I agreed, but at the end of the day, I'm just looking at people whose lives could really be damaged and hoping that that's not the case, that it was a situation of Dream being framed for something, and we can move on from this. Unfortunately, we may never know, and that's part of the problem.
Yep.
We do, however, know that Goldberg recently stated that he was on the Pop Culture Podcast. He said that he's contracted with WWE for at least another couple of years, and that he's contracted to have at least 2 matches a year for that time. He says he's already exhausted his matches for this year. He said in very sort of strange circumstances, but he's going to have 2 matches a year for the next couple of years. Whether or not that's a good idea remains to be seen. Obviously, this year his return was met with less than enthusiasm, given the fact that he beat The Fiend in Saudi Arabia, which really no one was happy with.
Nope.
And I think many people have already forgotten that Braun Strowman beat Goldberg at WrestleMania in a squash match. So how they will use Goldberg going forward, we will see. We also know that WWE contracts really don't matter, and they're not really worth the paper they're printed on, as seen by
just ask Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah, and speaking of Gallows and Anderson, that's actually our next story. Karl Anderson and Dax Harwood were on Twitter shooting back and forth, and at one point a fan asked Karl Anderson about Raw 25 when the Kliq and Finn Balor and Gallows and Anderson all got together in the ring and gave the 2 sweet to each other. And Anderson responded, he said, quote, "One of the biggest missed opportunities in pro wrestling history." Dax responded to that. "All the friends got to beat us up, hit all the signature moves. Me and Cash left in Gorilla, while everyone else was left giving each other high fives. I punched a brick wall. Building the future, babe." Because as you recall, Revival got absolutely hideously squashed against a bunch of old timers in the Kliq. And that's when they partied afterwards. So understandable that Revival was pissed off. We were pissed off, Nick, on our show. We were furious about that. So this is the dumbest thing we've ever seen. Karl,
for eons in professional wrestling, the way to do it is for the legends to lay down for the up and comers, go out strong on your backs. This was unheard of.
It was
a mess.
The arrogance was really painful, and it reminded you a lot of the fact that the few of these guys were responsible for destroying WCW with their ego. And Karl actually responded to it saying, "Killed you guys without even building us. Fuck, man, I have so much hatred for 5 certain people, and I'm going to name them soon." And I hope you're well, Dax. So he says there's 5 people who he absolutely hates in WWE, and he will name them soon. So stay tuned, because we will name them when he names them here on the show. One wonders if they're members of the Kliq. He went on to say, quote, "Friends, if they all knew how much they all truly hated each other, I wonder how that would go." Hinting that the Kliq may not really be so cliquey after all. One can only speculate on what he means by who hates who in that Kliq there. So, yeah, it makes that whole Raw 25 sequence that we buried at the time seem even more dumb in hindsight. Because nobody got over. It built to nothing. It was a poorly executed segment. I feel bad for the people who were in attendance at the time who said the whole thing wasn't even fun to watch. It was just a huge ego trip for the people involved. Didn't get anybody over, and ultimately cost WWE 2 of the greatest tag teams in the world in the Good Brothers and FTR. So,
yep. Well said.
Way to go. Way to go.
Good job, guys.
Good job. Gold prize there. Big gold star. On our way out here, we do have to wish a happy birthday to Tom Prichard, brother of the Prichard that's running the WWE shows right now. Not Bruce, but Tom, former member of the Heavenly Bodies with Stan Lane and Jimmy Del Rey. It was Jimmy Del Rey by the time they were feuding with Rock and Roll Express in WWE. Yeah. He was also a trainer for a long time in WWE. He actually trained a lot of people in the late 90s, including Kurt Angle, The Rock, Val Venus, Shane McMahon, Dolph Ziggler, the Bellas, and Cheeseburger as well. So trained a lot of legendary people. He even replaced Bill DeMott down in Deep South as a trainer, but then was replaced by Bill DeMott. Yeah, I know it's very humorous for you all to hear me do that, but he was replaced by Bill over in Florida Championship. So traded off with Bill. They should have probably just kept Tom Prichard given what went down with Bill. But happy birthday to Tom Prichard. He turned 61 years old today. And Nick, that is the news.
Well, happy birthday to Tom Prichard, and thank you very much, Sir Ian Dangerous, and thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of BWO Daily right here on YouTube. Make sure you pound that big red subscribe button and set your notifications to all so you get notified anytime we put up a new episode every single day of the week, plus some other content we have in the works coming very soon for you guys. Hint, hint, wink, wink, all that good stuff. But hey, get into our Discord community down in the description below, as well as all of our social medias. And hey, we're live streaming everything over on Twitch now, such as tonight, we'll be live over at twitch.tv/bustedwideopen, covering what went down on Raw and other stuff as well. So make sure you come over to Twitch and give us a follow over there, and join us tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific for BWO Live. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
And we will see you guys next time.